Sorry. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our February 21st Century Directors Meeting. It's nice to see you all here today. Hope that it is warm and sunny wherever you are, like it is here in Des Moines today. Molly, I can see the sun shining in your window behind you, so hopefully it's nice there today too.
Yes, we're hoping. We're going to a field trip at the Bettendorf Family Museum today. So I'm hoping it's warm because they said they're going to open up their outside for us.
Oh,
So
fun! Hopefully it'll be warm and not muddy.
yes, hopefully. Otherwise, the buses are not going to be very happy with me, but
Right,
we'll figure
right,
it
for
out.
sure. But you'll figure it out. Kids
Yeah,
are supposed to get muddy once in a while.
yes.
All right, great. Well, we've got a long and packed agenda today and a lot to get through. So without further ado, and welcome, I'm going to kick it over to Joe.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, lots to go over. It's hard to believe it's almost March already. So as you see on the agenda here, I'll just kind of go line by line. The first thing I wanted to bring up, and I'll start kind of emailing the group about this, is we have our second wave of data due in the federal 21 APR system. As you recall, back in November, there was a lot of enrollment data, student demographics, stuff like that. The second wave of data that's due by March 25th is performance and outcomes. So what we used to call GIPRAs, Government Performance something GPRA. It's now called something else, Performance Indicator or something like that. But that is due by March 25th. Now, I request that everybody gets in a little bit earlier, or the earlier the better. I know it's a little bit of a lift to take that and load it. This should have really been in your local program eval, so hopefully it's not too much of a process to kind of transfer data over. I know it's a manual thing, and finding time can be very difficult. But I need to do a little bit of review and certification of the data. So March 25th is actually my deadline to have it submitted. So ideally, you all would have it submitted and everything kind of cleaned up a couple days at least before then. So my request is that you have it done by like the 23rd, kind of at the latest, or maybe the Friday before being like the 20th, something like that. And I'll be sending a couple email reminders as we lead up to that date. I think we already had about a quarter of people, maybe a third of you have already done it. So kudos to you. It's been open for a while, but I know again, maybe not as immediate as some other things that pop up. Are there any questions about that data information that's required? And this is for the prior school year. Again, it's always a year behind. So those of you who have just received funding this year, you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about this until next year. No? Okay. The next one is a community partner data request. So Heidi had sent something out to each of you. This is something we do every year where we just try to gather your community partner information, who you've been working with over this last year and so forth. And Heidi, I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Sure, just that I've gotten a lot. I've gotten many already. Thank you very, very much for doing that. One little change that we made this year was if you want to just send me your updates, I'm very happy to just update what you sent me last year with new people, with, new community partners, or if there are people ones that have fallen off, I can delete. So you don't have to redo the whole thing unless it's just easy for you to do that and send it to me. That's great. Please send it to me in the template that we use. That not a screenshot of it or a scan or anything like that. Send me the actual template because Joe likes me to compile everything, and so it's just so much easier for me to cut and paste if you do that. And if you have any questions about it, you can certainly reach out to me. And we'd like to really ideally have all of those by March 6th, please.
Yeah, and this is, I know some of you know this, but this is a requirement from the federal government for this grant. We have to publicly post your community partners. So this is something that is important that we do every year, which again, I know is another burden and it's another aspect that you need to complete. So we appreciate it. The next update is the Unified Allocation Plan, the UAP for short. I don't really have any new updates. As many of you recall, we had received a waiver request and some additional flexibility from the Federal Department of Ed a couple months ago. I know I've already talked about this a couple of times, but just as a quick reminder, really the only aspect, the only change that impacts the 21st century programs had to do with how we as a state use our state activities carve off from the federal funds that we receive. And we are now combining that or talking about ways that we can combine it with some of our other title education programs. So that does not impact your funding in any way. The direct program funds are not impacted in any way. Those are not being combined with anyone else or anything like that. So it's really nothing you should notice. If anything, we're really hopeful of looking at kind of cross collaboration and needs from different groups within your school districts or within your respective organizations and how we can kind of better work together to support you all and get kind of a bigger bang for our buck for those funds that we pull down. Are there any questions about the UAP? No? Okay. I think Jackie or Jacqueline, could you mute yourself? I think we're getting the feedback from Jacqueline or Colleen a little bit.
I'm showing I am deleted.
Oh. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay.
I went ahead and muted you guys. You might have to ask me if you want to come off mute.
Okay. Okay. Zoom, I don't know. Zoom sometimes. Maybe it sometimes takes the weekend early. Thank you. The next one is a non-public consultation. So this is something I wanted to bring up because you might be getting dinged in kind of emails from our CASA system, our online application system where you submit your claims. About an upcoming deadline for non-public consultations. I believe it's March 15th. So as many of you are aware, when you initially submit your application for your 3 to 5 years of funding, that is one of the requirements. You have to reach out to your non-public schools within the district that you're serving to see if they want to participate in different ways. So there is a federal requirement that anyone that receives federal education funds as a public entity, you also have to offer similar services to non-public school students within, again, your district or respective kind of learning area. There is a little bit of confusion about this grant because this is a little bit different from the formula-based annual funding that a lot of the other title programs receive on what needs to happen in the following years of that initial application. We can say definitively, it is a requirement if at the initial application you had a private school or non-public school say, yeah, I'd like to participate, but I don't know maybe at this time. You would have to keep engaging with them year over year just to check in to say you had expressed interest, 2 years ago. Are you still interested? Are you not? And then just gauging if they want to have their students participate in any way. What gets a little murky is for those of you who reached out to those programs and they all said no. I would request that you still engage with your private schools, your non-public schools within your district, just to keep in contact with them. You don't have to say, I will give your students all this free stuff, but it is a good practice to reach back out and say, do you have students that are interested in our after-school programs, before school, summer, whatever? And then if they say yes, then I would say reach out to me and say, what kind of federally are we required to do with this information? But it's a good practice to try to do that every year because that is something that I think we're going to see increased attention to, both at the state and federal level. And this area is a little bit, like I said, I don't know if murky is the right word, but there's a little bit of confusion and states seem to approach it in different ways. Are there any questions on that? Elena, did you? Yep. Ooh. Nope, you don't? Okay. For those of you that are a public school district, your business office or somebody is already doing this. So I would engage with them and just kind of keep them in the loop, or maybe they're asking you, or maybe they're not asking you. But it's a good practice. I would say for like our community-based organizations and some of the other groups that are not tied directly to their school district, who has somebody that's filling this out year over year in the CASA system. It again, I would say is a best practice, even though in CASA it doesn't really reference our CBOs as needing to do it. and needing to actually complete and submit something on an annual basis, still a good practice so that we can go back and point to we have continued to engage with our non-public schools in a timely manner. Yep. So Bailey, good question. So in the CASA system, it says basically between January and March is kind of a good time frame to kind of plan for the year ahead and start getting budgets ready. So our school districts have to have it done by March 15th. But I would say from a community-based organization or nonprofits, it could be good to again tie that, especially as we're building up for the summer, because they might say, "Yeah, I've got a bunch of kids I'd like to send your way." That could be increased enrollments. But again, if you're concerned about your budget being impacted or kind of unforeseen things happening, reach out to me and then I'll engage with my team and we'll have a conversation about what is or is not kind of federally required to offer similar or kind of likewise services. The language gets again, a little murky, and we're happy to provide that direct consultation on that. But I wanted to bring that up because you might be getting emails or you might just be throwing it in your trash or ignoring it from the CASA system saying, hey, March 15th is coming up. You got to do this non-public consultation agreement because our public school districts do that every single year for all of their title programs, all of their other education funding programs. Very good. Federal funding updates. So many of you probably already heard, and I don't know if we covered this at our last meeting, but the federal education funding was signed. It's in law. Everything is business as usual. The Senate and the House really took kind of some of the recommendations from the Trump administration and essentially said, no, we're gonna keep it as normal. So we're back at level funding. Nothing really changed. Federal funding, you never know. So I can't guarantee anything, but I, for one, was kind of jumping for joy that they didn't make some of the dramatic changes and really alter the amount of funding that we receive for your after school programs. So I don't remember if I had mentioned that in previous conversations, but you probably again saw on the news the education bill was signed into law. Everything is fine. So no issues there, no reductions, no combining, no kind of weird stuff that was potentially out there on the drawing board. Are there any questions about federal funds? No. Well, I hope we get an increase. We've slowly been getting kind of a little bit less and less each year, and I don't know. Hopefully we go the other way. But there's formulas and all sorts of stuff the Feds use for that. So population and so forth. Very good. So data collection, I wanted to bring this up because I know we've been getting some questions. As some of you may recall, our contract with Ron and Rusty, the program evaluator trainers, R&R Consulting, ended at the end of December. I wanted to just make it very clear that doesn't mean that you don't have to do your program evals every year. We do absolutely still have to do that. That is a federal requirement that we're doing these independent program evaluations every year. So you will continue to do that. You will just send that data and that will be coordinated through me and potentially some members of our team. So keep collecting data, keep the relationship with your evaluator, keep everything kind of running business as usual, because that will continue. Nothing has changed. The only thing that changed is we, as the state of Iowa and Department of Education, decided to bring that in-house as a cost-saving measure. So nothing has changed. Same data, same form, same everything, same timeline. So if there's any questions about that, reach out to me, but I'll be kind of keeping everybody updated on that. But again, everything is the same. Nothing has changed. Very good. In the theme of data, I know someone had asked at our last meeting, right around this time of year. I know Vic used to send out a state survey to everyone that had quite a bit of information in it, and we needed to gather all this information. In reviewing this survey, I'm hoping that it's not something I have to do. I know we had heard from when we were meeting as committees. I know this was something that came up in the eval committee. Is that there was a lot of duplication of what was already submitted in your local program evals and other means. So I'm going to hopefully, fingers crossed, not have to hit you with that state survey. I'm going through and looking at what I can gather myself or a member of my team can pull down from the data you've already supplied. So that can hopefully take it off your plate. So it's not something that you have to sit and spend hours and hours resubmitting in an annual survey. So I will keep you updated on that, but it's looking like we're not going to need to do that this year. So hooray, small wins. A quick update on our federal grant for the next fiscal year, so 26-27. I know a number of you applied. That closed at the end of December. I've been working with Heidi's team to review and score and run through applications and compliance checks. And we're right now in the process of looking at budgets and awarding levels. And it's looking like we're going to be able to fund a majority of the programs that applied. As some of you may recall, we had 11 applications this year, and it was highly competitive. We had some really, really good applications. So it looks like we're going to be able to fund a majority of them. We're still kind of working out the details and looking at site requests, budget requests, kind of all of the stuff. So I'm hoping to have a more of a definitive answer out to you all and start engaging with your teams by kind of mid-March here. We generally shoot for the end of April, but I know that that's kind of a long time. So I'm hoping to have a better idea and then again, kind of communicating that out with the groups that applied by kind of mid to late March. I'm trying to speed it up a little bit because I know that's a long time from December as you're trying to plan for the year ahead. But we did have a lot of really good applications, and it was more competitive this year than I believe in many years in the past. Any questions on the application process? Okay. I put a note in here about carryover funds. So this is something we maybe don't need immediately, but I'll be asking about this kind of in the March, April timeframe. Each year, that's right around the time is kind of quarter three is starting to close in the April area, where you might have an idea of any carryover funds that you might be looking to keep for the next fiscal year, the next academic year. So I'll be sending that out. But if you already know, again, I'd probably ask that you just wait a little bit longer just to make sure nothing kind of unforeseen pops up. But that's something that we'll begin looking at. As a reminder, we generally only allow up to 15% of your budget to be carried over. We do allow some kind of flexibility with that, but we don't want to see a lot of money moving from year over year. It's not something the feds like to see either, and we don't want to get a reduced funding or anything because we're carrying over so much. But something that we do allow as a state is up to 15%, but some exceptions if something kind of dramatic happened or you just unforeseen circumstances we understand can happen. So I'll be emailing and kind of working with groups on that. I know I had reached out to some of your groups when reviewing the quarter two claims that it looked like we were kind of slowly spending things down. So if any of you feel like you've kind of hit a road bump or your plans have gotten off track for whatever reason, and you're going to potentially have a large amount of carryover, reach out to me because there are some things that we might be able to implement. Particularly, something kind of new is our technology purchase requests. So I have a new form. If it appears you're going to have a lot of carryover, that might be something we can use to burn some funds down. That's either to purchase tablets or equipment, kind of cool stuff. We had one of our recipients purchase a 3D printer for some manufacturing stuff and STEM stuff, and I know that has been really popular. So that's something really, really cool. That again has to go through a prior approval process though, and I can get you that form. So please don't go out and buy a bunch of stuff and say, I thought I could. That's something that you need to submit to me. And then we will have the conversation about, is it required? Is it necessary? How is it implemented or going to be implemented, secured? There's kind of a laundry list of things that we need to make sure we're using those federal funds appropriately. So any questions about carryover funds or kind of spending things down in a timely manner? No? Okay. That actually reminds me, and it's not on here, but for those of you that received the Out of School Time Career Pathways, the OSTCP grant, we had received an extension on that grant. So we have essentially another year to spend that down. We had planned to meet, I'm going to say a couple weeks ago, maybe last month, but I had something pop up. So I'll be looking to reschedule that and just get back in touch with you all to kind of talk about what that looks like and that extended deadline. And again, kind of being able to spend those funds down with that extended flexibility. So I know we were on a little bit of a time crunch because we had a very shortened final year, but then we ended up getting another extension. So that's great. So I'll be reaching out to those OSTCP recipients. There's really only like three of our grant recipients. The final thing we wanted to talk about is that we have some unfortunate news. We are not going to be renewing our Iowa After School Alliance contract with Heidi and her team. Similar to the Ron and Rusty R&R consulting evaluation support, this was a high-level management decision to cut costs across the state of Iowa. It's something that I petitioned very hard against. It's not, unfortunately, not something I agree with, but I was overwritten. So, unfortunately, mid-March here, March 14th, is going to be the final day that we will have Heidi and our team supporting the 21st Century Grant Program here in Iowa. We are not opening that back up. It is simply gone. We're again trying to really consolidate and pull things in and do much more of a team focus within the Iowa Department of Education. I have my fingers crossed that it will reopen sometime, but for the time being, everything that you had been working on with Heidi would just funnel through me, just directly. So I would be your primary contact on all things 21st century, whether that's evaluations, competitions, professional development, kind of all of the stuff. And Heidi, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say on that.
Just that, while we'll no longer have a contract with the Department of Education, we're still IAA, and our mission is still to, support out of school time programs in the state of Iowa, and I want to continue to do that for all of you. I won't, necessarily be supporting directly Joe and those types of things. However, I still have a lot of knowledge about 21st century, and I am absolutely here for you. I can even potentially support you in some different ways. So please don't think that you're not going to hear from me because I have all of your emails, and I will be reaching out to you to let you know about all of the opportunities in after school in the state, our professional development. Calendar, etc. And, even potentially some other ways that IAA could serve you when it comes to your 21st century program. So while this is on the surface could feel pretty devastating for Iowa After School Alliance, it's a very long held contract. And something that we've been doing for over 20 years and really have felt that we've provided benefit for the state. It's certainly, I know, not Joe's chosen path for this, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. We're still going to do lots of different types of opportunities within IAA that, of course, you will be open to the 21st Century Network.
Yeah, so any questions about that, comments, I don't know, concerns, whatever, we can kind of open up to the group. It's a big change, and yeah, I'm definitely going to miss working with Heidi. She's not getting off though. I still have her information. I'm still going to be bugging her a lot. But as of March 14th is technically when the official contract ends. So, not quite a month out. Okay. I think otherwise that was all that I had. I don't know if anybody has any other questions about kind of state or federal stuff, or just want to open it up for just conversation. I know I covered a lot kind of quickly there.
Joe, one question they might have that maybe they're not thinking of right now is, will they continue to have monthly directors meetings? And if so, how will those be scheduled?
Yeah, good question. So I'll be sending that out. It will just come from me. It'll be a Zoom. But yeah, we'll still continue to do the monthly directors meetings. I have an idea I'm kind of floating around. Instead of meeting as committees, I know we put those on hold, the kind of subcommittee groups. I have a potential plan to have kind of digital communications, kind of digital networking by groups, either through social media, through another site. So I'm still working on that, but I do intend to kind of bring that back together. But I want to try to cut down on as many meetings as we can. The monthly directors meeting and the new grantee meetings, though, is something I want to keep rolling. Absolutely.
All I want to say is thank you for everything, Heidi. You've helped me a lot the last few years, and I'm extremely sad right now, but I don't know. It'll be all good. But I just wanted to
Oh,
say thank you for everything.
thanks, Molly. Yes,
Yeah.
it will be all good. I'm already kind of thinking of some other ways that we could stay connected.
Yeah.
So don't
Thank you
worry.
for everything.
Of course.
Okay. Well, that was all I had. Heidi, do you have anything else?
No, I don't think so. I will share this video with everyone. Um, oh, I guess I should say too, maybe, and I'm sure you guys will talk about this in you know, in directors meetings, but the websites will be up at least through the end of May. I don't know what Joe will plan to do with it after that, but there's if you want to download things off the website. This would be a good time for you to do all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and otherwise, send me your community partner lists if you haven't done so already. And have a great spring.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what to do with the Iowa21cclc.com site. It may go away. We might just end up hosting a majority of those resources in like a Google Drive folder somewhere, kind of a public space. But I'm working with our IT group to figure out what we can do and what our functionality is. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording and let's see.